Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, devotees. How nice to be with you. Yes, so it's Sunday, and we will have a little Sunday class. I was asked to say some words about gratitude. And in order to do that, or in order to begin, I want to read a verse from, or actually I think two verses even, from Srimad Bhagavatam. I hope that our wonderful internet connection is going to work. Yeah. So where are we? Here we are. So can you still see me and hear me, devotees? Could someone just send a message when I have the thing like this? Can you still see me and hear me okay? Okay. All right, so here we go. I'm going to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva. I'm going to read verses 25 and 26. Etavad uktvo pararama tanmahad, bhutam nabo lingam alingam ishvaram, aham chatasmai mahatam mahiyase, sheshnavana mam vidadenu kampita. This is Narada Muni speaking to Vyasadeva, and he says, then that supreme authority personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. Yes, and we'll read verse 26 also. Naman yanantasya hatatrapapatan, guyani badrani kritani chasmaran, gam paryatams tushtam managataspriha, kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsara. Thus, I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are all benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied and free from pride and envy. So, yes, this is Narada Muni. Well, he's speaking to Vyasadeva, but he's reciting his own experience when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared to him and blessed him. Let me just tell you that story. It's an important story in our tradition. So Narada Muni, he was a 5-year-old child, and he was living with his mother, who didn't have a husband. She was what they call a Sudrani, like just a laborer woman. And the husband, obviously, there was some man was there or had been there, but he left the whole situation, the home situation. So Narada Muni was just left with his mother. And then some great sages came and stayed for the rainy season at the place of Narada Muni's mother. And Narada Muni, he's just a small child, 5 years old. He served them very nicely in different ways. He would clean up after them. He would wash their clothes. He would serve them prasadam. He would clean up after prasadam. In those ways, he would serve them, and then they were sitting and discussing every day for hours. And Narada Muni would just sit there, even though he's just a 5-year-old child. He would sit there and listen to them. So then the rainy season finished, and those devotees, they traveled on. They went on as they normally did. They're traveling mendicants. So Narada Muni, then he's left there with his mother. And then his mother was bitten by a snake, and she died. She just like that, bitten by a snake, and she died, more or less immediately. And there's Narada Muni, 5-year-old child. Now he's on his own. He just has no family whatsoever. So what to do? Well, having been inspired by those great sages, he decided to go on pilgrimage and visit different holy places and preach the glories of the Lord. So he did that, just at 5 years of age. So he was traveling around, walking around, and doing these things. And then one day he was sitting and meditating or chanting japa, something like that. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a 4-armed form appeared in front of him and told him basically that I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing very nice things. Please carry on. And the Lord told him, the thing is, I'm appearing to you now like this, just to give you some inspiration. You're not going to see me for long. I'm going to withdraw myself from your presence, and then you're not going to see me for the rest of this life. So I'm just doing this, though, because you're a nice boy, you're a nice devotee, and I want to help you. So I'm appearing to you like this to give you inspiration. Please carry on. Don't stop. Please carry on and develop your program of Krishna consciousness further. So then, therefore, Narada Muni speaks these verses, these 2 verses, and some other verses too. He speaks these verses, and he mentions that, as we read, feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. And then, having offered obeisances out of gratitude, then he was already chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord, but he intensified that and continued on traveling all over the earth, fully satisfied, free from pride and envy. So he mentions the specific term, gratitude. he felt, not just he felt, but he understood very clearly that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is helping me. He's helping me in ways which are just essential. And therefore, because he's helping me, I feel grateful, I feel gratitude, and I'm going to express that gratitude by continuing with my program of traveling and glorifying him and preaching. I'm going to continue, and I'm going to deepen that. So I thought it was a very nice verse or couple of verses to read on this occasion. A very nice situation in which a devotee feels gratitude. In material life, of course, gratitude is there. People express gratitude to each other from time to time, some more than others. Some are just not very grateful at all, even if you do a lot for them. We're talking here about people on the material platform. But gratitude is a very important type of mood. Let us call it a mood. Appreciation followed by gratitude. The two words appreciation and gratitude, they're not exactly synonymous, but they're very much related in that if you appreciate what someone has done for you, if you appreciate what someone has done for you, then at least if you're a decent person, it will sort of naturally follow that you will express that appreciation in the form of gratitude, thanking and noting that you did this and you did that, and thank you so much for these different things. And this is an important part of Vaishnavism. A devotee is a person who is naturally grateful. A devotee is a person who naturally appreciates what other people do for him or her, and appreciates what, in general, people do for each other, or particularly devotees do for each other. This is part of the nature of being a devotee. There are many sort of natural aspects to the consciousness of a devotee. Like, for example, we chant Hare Krishna. Naturally, this is part of being a devotee. You chant Hare Krishna. And the first part of doing that chanting is that one may feel it's a duty, or one may feel, oh, look at that. Goodbye, Jagannath. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. I don't know, I guess it's the offering time, is it? Something like that. Anyway, I forget. I haven't been to New Jagannath Puri for so long. I forget what the program is, but I guess the offering's going to happen. So anyway, either as a duty and or because it's nice, we chant Hare Krishna, isn't it? We all chant our rounds. I imagine, well, I see on the screen here, it says there are 45 of you who are watching now, 46 who are watching now. And, excuse me, I'm pretty sure that at least the great majority of you are chanting japa, and maybe even all of you. And maybe many of you, 46, maybe many of you are chanting 16 rounds. Put your hand up if you're chanting 16 rounds. Anyway, okay. Yes. So I remember when I started chanting, I've explained many times, I'm sure you've all heard me talk about it. They gave me some beads the first day I visited the temple, a temple. It happened to be the temple in London. And they told me, yeah, we chant 16 rounds, just chant. And I thought, okay. All right then, I'll chant. Are we still online here? Okay, we are. Someone just tried to telephone me. You know, unfortunately, these things happen on Skype. All right, so I just chanted because they told me to. I had a little experience of chanting, but not that I had a taste for it. And so I chanted for half an hour, and it was really difficult. And I thought, well, maybe this is not for me. But there were other aspects of Krishna consciousness which I really, shall we say, appreciated greatly, tremendously. And therefore I persevered with the chanting, with everything, living in the temple, and including the chanting, even though at least for some time I had no taste for it. I was just doing it as a duty. So then, but after a while I got a bit of a taste for it. You know, I couldn't say even now I have much of a taste for it, but you know, some taste is there, and so I chant. And so that's a natural part of being a devotee. A natural part of it being a devotee also, for example, is that devotees take vows. There are many vows in our lives. Of course, there's the 16 rounds vow, then there's the 4 regulative principles vow, but there are other vows. There are other vows, like even not even conscious vows, but you know, we accept, for example, I must visit the temple. I must go to the temple. I must read the books. I must take prasadam. And, you know, unless there's just some absolute, like serious problem in terms of getting prasadam, you know, unless there's some serious problem getting prasadam, I should always take prasadam. This is like a vow, even though we may not have, like with our 16 rounds or following the regulative principles, we may not have actually in front of the devotees and the spiritual master, we may not have said, yes, I vow, I will chant not less than 16 rounds, etc. But still, it's a type of a vow that I will only take prasadam, I will read Prabhupada's books. So devotees are people who take vows. And this is a natural part of being a devotee. So a natural part of being a devotee also is to be appreciative of whatever, you could say, whatever comes your way. Particularly of any special mercy that comes your way. You know, one way of looking at it, of course, let me just One way of looking at it is that whatever comes my way in Krishna consciousness is mercy. So therefore, if we're cultivating a mood of appreciation, then we should be practically appreciating everything that comes our way in the course of our lives in Krishna consciousness, even including if sometimes we get some chastisement or some sort of something like that, which, these things happen from time to time by the Lord's arrangement. But we should appreciate that this is for my betterment. We should appreciate it, and then a step further, out of gratitude, we should express our gratitude, and we should try to reciprocate. Devotees are people who appreciate, feel gratitude, and then reciprocate. These are all natural parts of being a devotee. I was reading earlier today, I was looking up a couple of things to say in this class, which, we're giving right now. So I was looking up a few things, and I saw in one place, let me just see if I can locate it. Where is it? It's the second canto, chapter 6, verse 23, purport. 2:6:23, purport. And there Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point, that impersonalists, and well, certainly just like real impersonalists who are actually practicing some sort of impersonal discipline, they have no gratitude. They have no gratitude, because as far as they're concerned, there is no one. They're impersonalists, so there's no person to whom I could express, or towards whom I could feel gratitude for anything. So gratitude becomes irrelevant, because you can only express gratitude to a person. But not only that, they think that I'm God. And, we're all God, including me, so I'm God. And if there's anyone to feel grateful towards, then it's just towards myself. It's a kind of crazy mentality. Let me read what Prabhupada says here in the purport. Prabhupada says, the impersonalists argue that there's no use in worshipping the Lord when everything is nothing but the Lord himself. The personalist, however, worships the Lord out of a great sense of gratitude, utilizing the ingredients born out of the bodily limbs of the Lord. The fruits and flowers are available from the body of the earth, and yet Mother Earth is worshipped by the sensible devotee with ingredients born from the earth. Similarly, Mother Ganges is worshipped by the water of the Ganges, and yet the worshipper enjoys the result of such worship. So like that, and Prabhupada continues. Prabhupada goes on. Well, I hope, okay, anyway, I hope our broadcast is still going on, because when I put up something to read in front of it, at least on my computer, it all stops. Anyway, let's hope. Is it okay? Anyway, okay or not, I'm going to continue. So an impersonalist then, or you could say by definition, will not feel gratitude, will not appreciate whatever happens, will not feel gratitude, and will not make any reciprocation. Yeah, and so there we're talking about like real impersonalists, but we can also extend it further. That if we have, you could say, impersonal tendencies, if we have impersonal tendencies, then our ability to appreciate whatever mercy we get, in whatever form, and our ability to appreciate just what others are doing, not necessarily for us, but just what others are doing in Krishna consciousness. To whatever degree we have impersonal tendencies, our capacity to appreciate all these things will be less. Yeah, it's really bad, actually, because coming from material life, we definitely have many impersonal tendencies. What can we say? Yeah. We have many impersonal tendencies, just by upbringing. You know, for example, in material life, everyone thinks that they are more important and their needs are more important. You know what they say? Look after number one. Famous saying. Look after number one. And who's number one? Well, it's nobody other than you. Yeah, you are number one. So therefore, in material life, it is almost universal that people have their own interests first. And then when they very strongly have their own interests first, then they become less capable of really appreciating other people. Yeah. You know, one person who reminds me like this, maybe I shouldn't even say, but I'm going to anyway, and, you know, there you go, is that from my, of course, it's very limited observation of Donald Trump, but, you know, I have observed a bit that he has so little ability to appreciate unless you agree with him and you support him. If you oppose him, then immediately you become enemy. So anyway, what to say? He's a materialist. He's like a super materialist. But these types of tendencies for us who are trying to practice Krishna consciousness, these types of tendencies, they hang over. They hang over into our material life. So, yeah. So as aspiring devotees then, it's extremely important that we try to develop our sense of appreciation. You know, in Krishna consciousness, there are two aspects to our personal development, meaning in terms of our character. There are two aspects. One is that we can, in a conscious way, deliberately try to kind of preach to ourselves that, you know, you must do that, you must, in this case, shall we say, you must become more appreciative. And you must make a point when you're with the devotees next, or when you're in any situation next, You must make a point. Then when someone does something, even anything, but particularly something for you, you're speaking to yourself as if you're another person, that you must make a point of expressing some appreciation. Yeah. So it's sadhana bhakti means like that. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti means like that. That we have to discipline ourselves in certain ways for our improvement, and make, you could say, a sort of like a strategy for our improvement. Yeah. So that's one part of it. There are two parts, I said. The other part is I just drank some water just to diverge very slightly. This is really special water. This is called, it's from Woolworths, and it's not, normally they call it pH 8. But the title is Drakensberg Natural Spring Water, pH 8. And you know how it's kind of, it's not just your typical stuff you just buy anywhere. It's somewhat special. It's more healthy because it's pH 8. And you know how I got onto it? That's virtually all I drink now, is pH 8 water. You know how I got onto it? Let me tell you. Because His Holiness Bhakti Brihad Bhagavat Swami, when I was in hospital, having had a prostate removal operation a couple of months ago or something like that, he came and visited me very kindly, and I really appreciated that. But what I appreciate now in the long term is that he's like a water fanatic in a very nice way. And he told me of the different, actually 3 best types of bottled water that you can get. One of them is what it's called Fiji water, but it's really hard to get and it's really expensive. And then another one is another one, I forget the name, but the third one is this pH 8. And this is what I am drinking every day. You know, a liter or 2, couple of liters, at least 1.5. And he put me onto it, and I really appreciate it. And I expressed gratitude, and actually I should express more, and I should reciprocate more. Well, I tried to reciprocate, but it's just a practical example. So, you know, in terms of like our taking control of our lives in Krishna consciousness in positive and progressive ways, we should sit down with ourselves and give ourselves a little talking to from time to time about the need, just in a general sense, the need to develop our capacity for appreciation. And then following that, our capacity, our inspiration for feeling gratitude, and following that, the inspiration for expressing it by reciprocating. Yeah. So that's the first part. But the second part, very important, is if we just try our best in Krishna consciousness, then by Krishna's grace, Krishna, who is present in our hearts, he will reciprocate by cleansing our hearts. We may not even notice, but gradually we will lose interest in material life. Yeah. intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, these things will just lose interest in. I mean, generally gambling. Anyway, whatever. All of us have our own tendencies from before in regard to those things, or at least some of those things. But by Krishna's grace, if we just carry on practicing as nicely as we can, Krishna will cleanse our hearts of those tendencies. There's a famous little story. It was told, actually, would you believe, by His Holiness Krishnadas Swami Maharaj, and it's a good one, is that one person became a devotee, and he's practicing Krishna consciousness enthusiastically, following the regulative principles. And one day he met one of his old friends from before. Before he was a devotee, and who he hadn't seen since he became a devotee. And that person said to him that, "Oh, you're a Hare Krishna now, I see." But how did you give up these things? How did you give up meat? Because apparently that person who's now a devotee had been, as the great majority of people are, he had been a regular meat eater. So how did you give up eating meat? And the devotee answered that, actually, I did not give up meat. Meat gave up me. I don't know if you've heard that story before. And he said that, I just, it's almost like one day I woke up and I just wasn't interested. I couldn't care less. No interest. It just sort of evaporated out of my life. So this is all going on by the mercy of Krishna, and it's happening to all of us. That's in the sense of eliminating unwanted things. But on the other side, by Krishna's mercy, as the heart becomes purified, then good qualities start to manifest. Actually, they're already there within the heart. Within the heart is, of course, first and foremost, love. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Saja Kabu Noi. Lord Chaitanya says, the eternal perfection of love for Krishna, Krishna Prema, Sadhya, eternally, Kabu Noi, is within us. And along with that love, sort of part and parcel of that love, or, very close relatives of that love, are many other good qualities, like humility, tolerance, mercy, the tendency to be clean, and so on and so forth. And as a devotee is practicing Krishna consciousness, then through the purifying process, by the mercy of Krishna, these things they're kind of released from the heart. They're within the heart. So they start becoming released bit by bit. And then they start coming to the surface in the heart and the consciousness of the devotee, and then being displayed in the activities in the life of the devotee. So these are the two levels, or just the two types of ways that devotees progress and become better people, just nicer people. Plus becoming better and better devotees as time goes on. So if we're practicing nicely, then my point here is if we're practicing nicely, then first of all, the ability to appreciate the mercy that we get, that will develop. And then secondly, we'll be able to appreciate other devotees, not just if they do things for us, but just for being devotees and for what they're doing in service to the Lord. And then as that attitude of appreciation develops, then the sort of the manifestation of it, because appreciation is more internal, but then the manifestation externally of different expressions of appreciation and different expressions of gratitude. Even, what to speak of if someone does something for you. Someone gives you some mahaprasadam. Hopefully you're not on the level that a few of our devotees are on here in the Radha Radhanath temple, because we got about, 30 devotees living here or something. Yeah, it's really wonderful. But there's a problem. There's a problem, is that sometimes there's so much mahaprasadam that they can't eat it. Yeah, really. And sometimes when they're offered a plate of mahaprasadam, they think, oh no. Normally when you're offered a plate of mahaprasadam, it's like, oh wow, great. And thank you. Yeah, okay. But anyway, that's just sort of by the way. So we ourselves, we should adopt a conscious, deliberate program of trying to develop appreciation first, and then develop, following in the footsteps of the appreciation, a program for expressing it in gratitude. Not just for the things that are done for you or that come your way somehow by some special arrangements, but just some appreciation and gratitude for what the devotees are doing in their service. Yeah, like I'll just give you an example. You can express to the pujari. Earlier we saw the pujari, the devotee from India. And from what I know, he's there every day. He is just, he's like a rock of devotional, like the rock of Gibraltar, kind of unmovable. He's always there doing his service. So you could start in terms of developing your appreciation and expressing it by going up to him and saying, I really appreciate how you're so steady in your devotional service to Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra Devi, and Sri Sri Nitai Gaura Sundar. What do you think? I mean, maybe you're doing it already, I don't know. And how about this? This is a good one. I don't know if Prabhanu Prabhu is online. He may be, actually. But, maybe if he is, he can block his ears. But, he does so much service there. And he's accepting so much anxiety, my God, to keep things going. Sometimes it may be difficult for him, and like that. But have you ever, tell me, you tell yourself, have you ever gone up to him and expressed appreciation for all the service that he has done over the many years and that he's continuing to do today? And have you ever, in that mood of appreciation, expressed some expressed it and expressed some gratitude, and then done something to reciprocate. Anyway, you tell yourself, this is for you to consider. So why don't you do it? Don't tell him that I talked about it in this little class. But why don't you just do it? And for other devotees, yeah. It's very important to, in conscious ways, disciplined ways, to work on developing different qualities, abilities, and so on and so forth, which are helpful for your Krishna consciousness. Yeah, work on it. Even though sometimes it may be difficult, but we work on it. And then Krishna also will give his mercy. Particularly he'll give his mercy if he sees that you're really working on it. So this is very important in Krishna consciousness. We should not be complacent. We should not be lazy in our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is progressive, dynamic, a progressive dynamic process for self-improvement through becoming a devotee and becoming a better devotee, like this, developing our Krishna consciousness in all sorts of ways. Yeah. So please think about that, because because being ungrateful, particularly if someone goes out of their way to do something for you, my God, to be ungrateful, that's horrible. That's horrible. It's impersonal, as we said, and actually it's straight out of the textbook for the non-devotees, for the demons. Yeah. It's straight out of their textbook. How to be a demon, how to be a non-devotee. It's right there. There are many other things. Being lusty and greedy and proud and all that. But to be ungrateful, it's there in one of the lessons in the book, the textbook. How to be a demon, how to be not a non-devotee. Yeah. And I don't doubt. Well, I look at myself and I see it, and I don't doubt that it's there in you. Pardon me for saying it, but we can only expect it because we know we're all coming from material life, and that's the program in material life, that we look after ourselves first. And, we appreciate ourselves greatly, but our capacity to appreciate others is often a lot less. Thank you, Rishika, Rajdav, Hare Krishna to you for appreciating our discourse. So my point here, and this I want you to take away from this whole program today, my point is, I want you to put this into effect in practical terms in your life in Krishna consciousness. You got me? Did you get me? And maybe, because I can see some of your names here, I can't see all your names. But, when this whole lockdown business is finished and we can all start associating as we used to do, Hare Krishna, when will that day be ours? My gosh. So, but when the time comes, as long as I can remember, as long as I'm able to remember, I am going to ask you when I come for a Sunday program, I'm going to ask you, have you been doing this? And has it been working? Has it been going into your heart a bit? Yeah. And thank you, Shama. And Lalita Gopal. We're going to get a whole lot of messages of appreciation, but that's good. Thank you. Even though, whatever I am, but I've said it now, so I have to accept it if you're going to do it. Yeah. But actually you should appreciate Prabhupada, because this is all coming from Prabhupada. If it wasn't for Prabhupada, I wouldn't be able to say anything to you at all. And that's just the absolute truth. This is completely true. So please think about this, and please start putting it into effect. Not just amongst the devotees, because right now I think many of you are not able to associate much with many devotees. But even just like your family members who I'm sure you're with during the lockdown, and whoever else you may bump into somehow or other. But try with husbands, try with your wives. How's that? Some of them may find it a surprise. My husband, actually, he told me that the prasadam that I cooked was very nice. Wow, what happened to him? Yeah, and wives, you express some appreciation and gratitude and reciprocate. Let me close now by telling you just a tiny little story, something I saw, would you believe, on Facebook, but from a devotee. From a devotee wrote something on Facebook, which I just happened to see a little while ago, several months ago. The devotee said, he's an old Prabhupada disciple, and he said, you know what? He was saying it publicly on Facebook. My wife just gave me the biggest compliment she's ever given me in the many years we've been together. And he said, my wife told me, Jai Mohini Radha, Haribol. My wife told me that actually you're quite a good husband. You're quite a good husband. And if I have to take birth again, I wouldn't mind having you as my husband again. And the devotee said he felt this was the biggest compliment his wife had ever given him in their time together for, I don't know, 40 years maybe. Oh, look, Prabhu is there. Oh my gosh, I hope you didn't hear what I said about you. Anyway, Haribol. But you're doing great service. You are you're another one of these Tower of Gibraltar. I don't know if you're familiar with that little saying. Tower of Gibraltar means just unshakable. Whatever happens, it's there. He's there. So thank you for being like that, Prabhu. I really appreciate it. Sure. It's amazing, actually. So there you go, devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have found it interesting, and I hope you can actually take something away from it which you can now apply in your life for your betterment, for your improvement, and in this way for your becoming happier in Krishna consciousness, because that'll be the ultimate result. You'll become even more happy in Krishna consciousness. So there you go. Thank you very much. Now, what are we meant to do now? Do I just finish? Or do we get some comments or questions? Or do you all go to your feast, your virtual feast at home? Jai Varsha, Hare Krishna, Anjana, Rasa Leela, Haribol. Someone's going to have to advise me, otherwise I'm just going to hang up. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Jai Mother Radharana, Haribol. Thank you for, the service you've done, my God. Amazing. Okay, so thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Sundara Ki Jai. ISKCON Phoenix Yatra Ki Jai. And all the other devotees, Haribol Ki Jai. And see you later. Hare Krishna.
Krishna! And again, Hare Krishna! All right. So that's good enough for a start. We'll see how you do in the program. Dhananjay, just bring up that bag. You know, we have, just as a little special thing, or even two little special things, well, anyway, you know what we have in here? You know what we have in here? Huh? Not Mahaprasad. It's even more, I think, than Mahaprasad, or no less at least. We have some dust from Vrindavan.